Hello, welcome back. I'm Statman Dave, and today we're going to be explaining Manchester United's new 4-2-4. Of course, if you are new around here, make sure to hit that subscribe button. But anyway, let's get this party started. Last season, Manchester United's defence was a problem. Not only did Manchester United concede 36% more goals than they did in their first season under Erik Ten Hag, but only Sheffield United allowed more shots on their goal. A big aspect of this was Manchester United's pressing structure being destroyed by injuries. United ranked 11th in the Premier League for passes allowed per defensive action, or PPDA, but also 8th in the Premier League for challenge intensity, the number of defensive actions per minute per their opposition's possession. Manchester United and Erik Ten Hag have looked to address this problem by appointing Ruud van Nistlerooy as an assistant manager. Ruud van Nistelrooy's PSV team defensively was pretty good. They pressed in a compact block and forced their opponents. Comparing the statistics of PSV versus Manchester United, they beat United from last season for both challenge intensity and PPDA. But what does this new scheme that Ruud van Nistelrooy and Erik Ten Hag have implemented look like? Manchester United's latest pressing structure is built around a 4-2-4. Like with all of Erik Ten Hag's defending, the system is also a man-to-man setup that relies on each player to win their individual duel. Saying that, the coaching staff have implemented a setup that gives United's players an edge. From a starting 4-2-3-1, the number 10 joins the striker whilst the wingers push on. From their starting positions, the two central strikers sit on the opposition's pivot players, whilst the wingers track the fullbacks. A much improved aspect of this setup is the use of cover shadows and curve runs to try and force the opposition to play into central spaces, where United's tenacious central players try and regain the ball before quickly counter-attacking. However, if the opposition try and attack down one flank, United will collapse over and engage the same side winger, fullback and central midfielder. To make turnovers even more effective, Man United's defenders are adopting a higher defensive line in this setup to reduce the space available for the opposition even more. This works superbly with the new summer signings because they're all fairly mobile and excellent in 1v1 duels. The high line is also encouraging the goalkeeper sweeping off his line more. Best of all, this setup isn't just better defensively, but forced turnovers tend to be in very dangerous positions. So what are the advantages of this new 4-2-4 structure? Last season, Man United defended in a 4-2-3-1, which arguably opened up the centre of the pitch for teams to play through or carry through, resulting in a lot of difficult and dangerous situations for Man United to defend. So simply what Erik Ten Hag and Ruud van Nistelrooy have done, of course, that number 10 is moving to join the striker and creating a kind of two-man strike force to protect the double pivot, and the two wide players are a lot higher and more narrow. What this means for Manchester United is it means that they're a lot harder to play through. It means that opponents will struggle to simply play through United's lines and then get into the final third. In terms of the first important bit, it's blocking off the pivot. So both strikers, what their jobs are to block those balls in behind them, but also press out. For example, if the ball's played to the centre-back, they'll press using their cover shadow. What they really want to do is make the move in the right way so that they're covering that space in behind them. So basically what their job is, stop balls simply getting into those defensive midfielders and thus stop the kind of engine room of the opponent's team. So Manchester United are pressing in that way. They're harder to play through because of that coverage in central midfield is a lot better. Even if the opponent is playing two number 10s, Man United's two defensive midfielders have still got enough bodies to deal with those situations if there's rotations. But also it means Manchester United are forcing their opponents to play inside. They're using their outside midfielders or wingers to really cover the fullback when pressing if the centre-backs are maybe positioned a little bit wider, covering the ball in behind them and squeezing. You know, let's just take the situation if Manchester United are forcing, for example, Manchester City to play inside. Rashford's job very much is going to be stop the ball, go into that fullback behind him. If he does it correctly, as he's done this season so far, the ball's going to get recycled the other side. And again, Imad Diallo's going to do the same thing where he's going to cover the pass in behind him and squeeze. What this is doing is forcing the opponents to play more risky balls into midfield, so Manchester United can simply step in and win the ball back. This makes them better defensively. So the first massive advantage of this new defensive structure and shape is United are far harder to play through. And the second advantage is even better. Because of this shape and structure and how United are trying to force the opponents to play through their narrow, compact block, high turnovers are looking really good. good, and they're leading to dangerous counter-attacking situations, be it the ball won in central midfield, if there's a risky pass played by centre-back, and then let's say a Casemiro or a Manu who's going to win the ball back and then instantly play. The big thing there is, because of the positioning of those two strikers, they're already behind or goal side of the two defensive midfielders, which allows them kind of a direct route to goal with a dribble or carry or through ball. You're basically catching the opponents out better in their build-up structure. So now let's take a look at a few examples of this structure against Liverpool. First, talking about how United are far difficult to play through, and then we're going to look at a high-quality turnover that's created by this 4-2-4 structure. So we pick up the play with Jarell Quansah in possession of the football, and we start to see Man United's scheme really coming in. So the first thing obviously we spoke about is the two strikers dealing with the opponent's pivot. Right now we've got Jadon Sancho blocking off that pass into Ryan Gravenberch, and Mason Mount going man-to-man with Curtis Jones. You can notice as well that Amad Diallo is narrowing himself up as United's wide players narrow in this pressing 4-2-4 structure. As the ball is recycled into midfield, instantly you're going to see Mason Mount pressure the football. This is a really important thing. This is making your opponents feel very, very uncomfortable if they play into this area. So as soon as that ball's played into Ryan Gravenberch's feet, Mason Mount's going to jump and put pressure on the football, forcing Gravenberch backwards, doing his job, allowing United to once again get set and blocking off those passes into the pivot. Mason Mount covering the pass into Ryan Gravenberch, and of course Jadon Sancho baiting the pass arguably into Curtis Jones. That's going to be a key thing in the next clip we look at. That pass from Konate into Curtis Jones is an area where United I think baited it at certain times. But as possession is moved back to Quansah, there's going to be no options into midfield. Again, Marcus Rashford covering that ball out to Bradley. Sancho now doing the thing that we spoke about previously. Those strikers, when the double pivot is behind them, putting pressure using their cover shadow to pressure the centre-back in possession. This forces Jarell Quansah to go back inside as there's no options on. Again, the double pivot's covered, and United have got two free guys that could jump in that middle area in Casemiro and Toby Collier. As possession moves back, Liverpool need to give the attack a bit of width because United are blocking that central area off really well. Once again, we can see the curvature in Mason Mount's pressing, covering that pass into midfield. Perfect from the England international. As the ball's played wide, United want to force the teams back into that central area. So what you're going to see, again, the central options covered. Mount's putting pressure on the ball. Casemiro's going to jump onto that midfielder, and Amad Diallo's going to use curvature and in his movement in pressing to block that pass out wide, forcing Liverpool back inside. This is a crucial thing. United are compact inside, but they're also forcing you back inside from those wide areas. So as, of course, the pressure's put on, Liverpool look to play back to their centre-back. In this phase, United have been pretty perfect so far. They're forcing Liverpool into situations where they've got to move the ball back. Again, Jadon Sancho following his press, doesn't quite get his deceleration right as Quansah turns out and plays forward. But still, even when you've bypassed that first line of pressure, the structure from Man United is really good. We've seen a slight reaction of Amad Diallo and Marcus Rashford dropping a bit deeper. But as soon as these type of things happen, you're instantly going to see pressure from midfield. Toby Collier jumps and pressurises the football, once again forcing the opponents back. I like that from Collier, and we see it frequently in Manchester United midfield in this new shape. The centre mid's jumping if that first line of pressure is broken. But once again, doing exactly what Man United want, forcing Liverpool into a backwards pass. From this position, once again, we're going to see Toby Collier drop deep. I like the narrow position of Marcus Rashford. He's covering Conor Bradley inside. We've got Casemiro man-to-man. Once again, Mason Mount could put pressure on the football. From this position, it arguably opens up a bit of a lane. But as soon as that pass is played into the feet of Ryan Gravenberch, United collapse with Casemiro and Amad Diallo and win the ball back in a really, really good area. And this creates a 6v6 counter-attacking situation for Manchester United. But all coming from this new 4-2-4 structure, forcing the opponents inside from the wide areas and covering those pivot players and pressing from those positions. Once again, we've got an example against Liverpool United in this 4-2-4 structure. One of the things we spoke about previously was Konate and that pass into the right central midfielder. In terms of this situation, what you've got for Manchester United, if you can make that interception on that pass, it creates a high quality of chance. And due to the nature of the system, again, with Mason Mount and Jadon Sancho, the two strikers covering the passes into the feet of the pivot players, it allows players like Casemiro, Toby Collier, and Kobbie Mainoo in this season to jump. This allows Man United to nick the ball in a really high area through a carry, then create a brilliant opportunity for Mason Mount in the penalty area. We've got another example of this 4-2-4 structure creating a really high quality chance against Manchester City. So we pick up possession with Gvardiol receiving a pass from Ederson. Manchester United's block is slightly different here. It's still the 4-2-4 design, but it's deeper due to City's shape. The defensive midfielder for Manchester City, or the pivot player, is Kovacic. He's playing higher at the pitch, which means United's two strikers are playing a little bit deeper. But the principles are exactly the same. As Gvardiol carries out into midfield, Amad Diallo is going to use curvature to block the pass to the wide player and then force Manchester City inside. We can clearly see Mason Mount and Bruno Fernandes on Kovacic blocking off those central passes. As Amad comes in and squeezes, he's covering that pass out wide. But also Kobbie Mainoo is covering the pass into O'Reilly in central midfield. What this means is that City don't have many options. It forces Gvardiol to try and find a pass into O'Reilly, double pressure on the football from Casemiro on the back, Mason Mount in the front, which leads to United winning in a very, very good position. You've got to remember that Gvardiol is actually a centre-back in this move. So United winning the ball back, switching it inside from Casemiro, creating a really high-quality chance. I think if Bruno Fernandes gets his head up and plays it to Marcus Rashford in that situation, we all know what Rashford can do in that area. He's got a runner and a man ahead of him, but also can get shots on goal. But this is all created by the pressing structure. Number one, blocking off those passes into the pivot, but also forcing the opponents back inside and then jumping on it and winning it back to create really high-quality counter-attacking situations. A better pass in that moment, and United lead the game. So we spoke about Manchester United's high block, their mid block is exactly the same. This 4-2-4 structure is used in the centre of the pitch. Not only does that mean United really compact that really narrow central area in the middle and force turnovers, but it also means that United can break with a lot of pace. As teams enter their attacking structure, either with pushing their fullbacks on or into midfield, it creates space for United's wingers to break in behind. And as we spoke about before, due to United trying to force the opposition through their centre of their block, it can create massive turnovers in central midfield, which could lead to quick balls to Bruno Fernandes to then feed the two attackers on the outside. This new shape will create new counter-attacking opportunities for United in their mid-block. Not only that, but the personnel that United have got, especially in defence, means that they can play a much higher line. The likes of Matthias de Ligt, Mazraoui and Lenny Yoro when he's fit, it's going to mean United can create a nice compact block, something that we've not seen in that central area. Again, forcing their opponents into playing difficult passes to break Manchester United's lines. But consequently, because United's line is higher, but also Andre Onana saying he wants to take more risks this season on the ball and off the ball, Andre Onana's position will be a lot higher. And this is beneficial for a number of reasons. But the main reason is when teams play long balls over the top, they've got to be absolutely perfect to stop Andre Onana simply sweeping up the ball and recycling possession, or instantly, again, using his range of passing to hit one of the forwards in behind the opposition's defensive lines. Comparing Onana's numbers from last season versus last full season under Erik Ten Hag, his sweeper-keeper actions dropped from 1.85 to 0.97, but his average distance of his actions dropped from 18.6 metres to 12.9 metres, meaning that Onana did around half as many sweeper-keeper actions at a much lower distance. But this new defensive structure and shape and the mid-block should see Onana coming off his line a lot earlier to sweep the ball and then start Man United attacks. So with big improvements of United's high block and mid block, there are also big improvements with their low block, adopting a 4-2-4 shape. Manchester United had a lot of issues dealing with cutbacks last season, but this new structure allows United to deal with these problems. So if the opposition do bypass United's pressing structure and get into the final third, what you'll see with United is they drop very aggressively and get into a 4-4-2 structure. At times last season, the issues were we only saw one defensive midfielder dropping back, allowing the opposition to get into the final third, clean out their centre halves with some movement, pull the defensive midfield over, over and then work cutbacks. United now look a lot better, with the likes of Amad Diallo, Marcus Rashford, Garnacho dropping back and protecting their fullbacks. Not only does this mean that no longer Man United's fullbacks are going to get 2v1'd out wide, but the extra body allows them to put pressure on the opposition's winger, and we're no longer going to have 1v1 situations for our wingers to deal with. As well, with this 4-2-4 shape, we're seeing the two central midfielders be nice and compact, and the two strikers dropping in, creating a really solid structure. So when the ball does get into the penalty area, United no longer have an issue. There's no issue with one of the DMs going over to help the fullback and the midfielder, as of course there'll still be another midfielder to deal with those situations, and the compactness of the shape will allow United to deal with a lot more cutback situations. We're talking when the ball goes wide, the striker's making that forward motion. Last season the issue we had was the defensive midfielder would get drawn over to try and deal with the shape, which would open up massive space inside the penalty area on the D for someone like Kevin De Bruyne to simply score a goal. But United now, because of their new structure, looks a lot better. Number one, you're going to have a lot of better defensive coverage in those wide areas, the winger dropping back, but also you've got a DM going over to cover, and the other DM can deal with that option at the edge of the box. United look better in their high block, mid block, and their low block this season. One of the intangible benefits of this new structure is it's obvious the players are buying in. Not only we mentioned before about players tracking back, but counter pressure looks a lot better this season for Manchester United. As soon as Manchester United are losing the ball, we're seeing 2 or even 3 players swarm the zone to win it back. A lot of that comes from the new defensive structure and the pressing schemes, but I think it also comes from Ruud van Nistelrooy's impact. The team looks hungrier to win the ball back in these areas, which again creates counter-attacking situations. We had a great example of this against Arsenal, where Amad Diallo won the ball back with Mason Mount and they instantly broke down the right wing. We pick up the play with Harry Maguire clearing the ball from centre half. Instantly, as the ball's played up to Marcus Rashford, his layoff is intercepted by Martin Ødegaard. But instead of United dropping back into a defensive structure, instantly 2 players, Mason Mount and Amad Diallo, jump on the ball. They squeeze it, they press it, and they win the ball back. The ball's then played forward to Rashford, the up-back-through methodology is used, and United create a chance of super high quality. Imad plays in Aaron Wan-Bissaka in behind, his cross is at the near post, and Rasmus Højlund just fires over. But that moment comes from counter pressure, jumping on the ball, losing it, instantly squeezing the opponent, creating a really good quality of chance. One of the big reasons why Manchester United can implement this type of pressing structure is down to personnel and recruitment. United have done really well in the market, not only adding a pressing forward in Joshua Zirkzee, but defensively making big improvements. Mazraoui comes in knowing how to press, knowing how to play a high line, and being very good 1v1, especially on the right hand side in duels. But Matthias de Ligt arguably is a bigger upgrade in terms of his ability to not only deal with balls into the channels, but also be physical and win his 1v1s against the opposition's number 9. United can defend higher, but also defend with more belief and leadership in there. Matthias de Ligt captained Ajax at 17 years old. This guy has the ability to carry a defensive structure from a leadership perspective, meaning United, on his command, will play a lot higher up the pitch, consequently meaning more space for Andre Onana to sweep up in behind. But also with United compared to last season, that's a backline that's got more pace, that's got more athletic ability, and are also better in duels. In terms of the rest of the 11 as well, probably United need one more number 6. Ugarte would be perfect to complement this new structure. He's athletic, he's a great ball winner, and he's good 1v1. We've done a profile on him on the channel if you want to go and check him out. Does his transfer make sense for Man United? We'll link it right now above. But United's personnel also and the recruitment of Ineos have allowed United to be better equipped to press in this 4-2-4 structure. In conclusion, Manchester United's 4-2-4 should stop United leaking chances through the middle of the park. It means they're more compact, but also they can create high quality turnovers. Credit needs to go to Ineos for recruiting the right type of player to play this style. But also we're seeing key players return from injury like Lisandro Martinez, a warrior, a player that's capable of driving into midfield and going man to man. Erik Ten Hag's shape and structure requires players to win their 1v1 duels. To allow the structure future to truly flourish. A lot of credit has got to go to Ruud van Nistlerooy because there's a lot of similarities between his PSV team and how this Manchester United team are setting up. Expect more turnovers, faster counter-attacks and more goals for United in the transition. But anyway guys, what have you made of this new shape? Do you think the 4-2-4 is going to be the meta going forward in the Premier League? I've been Statman Dave, subscribe if you're new and we'll see you later.
Thanks for watching. If you've enjoyed this video, why not check out some more content on the Statman Dave YouTube channel.